Thus, during the last times of the previous world cycle, the beings had become very close or at the final limits of their developments within the matter milieux they are. This situation was such for all beings evolving in the matter milieux at every stage, from cells which constitute the bodies of mankind, and all other high world beings from plants, to animals and to humans. For this reason, cancerous diseases had increased. And again, for this reason, mankind become dissolute and begun to trash about with the need of going outside of the matter conditions, which become unresponsive to their further leaps. However, despite the fact that, in order to satisfy their higher needs which spill over the conditions of world matter, should they have directed their activities to those conditions beyond matter, these conditions have been previously explained. Mankind could not do this, and had attempted to seek their needs within the conditions of the coarse hydrogen atom world which they live in. When they could not find the happiness they sought there, they strenuously made effort to console themselves by burying deeper into those matter. And this situation put into effect the scene of the degeneration of mankind, their becoming cancerous. And this is a necessity and natural characteristic which is generally seen, at the beginning of every revolution, of every evolutionary cycle. In order to explain it well, we give an example. Imagine a penniless man dreaming of being a millionaire and expecting all his happiness from these millions, and after 8 or 10 years, he possesses that much money. When he sees that the happiness he expected to come with the millions did not come in spite of his current riches, what will he do? When he sees that the expected happiness did not come with the money, he will try to forget his frustration by burying himself in his money, and this will cause him to be confused and bewildered. Whereas he could understood that this happiness will not come with money, and he could seek it elsewhere. But he cannot do this. When he cannot find the happiness he sought and sees that he gets completely distanced from it, he falls into more unhappiness. In short, mankind during the previous world cycle, who completed their cycle by using the last possibilities of world matter, did not want to think that, expecting superior results from the world matter which become unable to offer possibilities for further leaps of the beings, would be like pressing oil out of marble, and despite all the efforts they made, they could not find the happiness they sought in matter, and could not reach any satisfactory or consoling result for their needs of further leaps. This situation confused them more, put them into insoluble confusion, irritated and degenerated their states in matter. By the efforts and wishes to satisfy their essence needs of their essence beings, of which they do not know and cannot find out about, mankind took the wrong path and got stuck into world matter. The meaningless pride, fruitless obstinacy, failures, which emerged as every venture remained abortive that occurred in them as a consequence of this situation, created confusions, disappointments and turned them into a riddle, even incomprehensible to themselves. Then mankind became restless beings who attack here and there in vain, without comprehending what to do. This small observation, which we will remind you, among the innumerable daily samples of small examples from such states of confusion and bewilderment, into which mankind falls in similar circumstances, will be sufficient to give a simple idea about this topic. A child, who liked to kill birds with his slingshot a few days ago, comes upon the carcass in the road of a bird which died on its own, and feels pangs and tries to bury it, spending lots of effort. However, this pang of his does not stop him from killing other birds with his slingshot a few days later. It is possible to expand the scope of this small example among mankind, and to obtain possibilities of expanded observation about the states of confusion that mankind is in. And all these states were the expressions of reaching the threshold of a revolution. For surely there would be a reciprocity of the merits of the beings, who had now felt their higher needs and started to writhe about amidst those needs, which measured, calculated and appreciated in the mechanism of destiny, and this was a great revolution of the world, which would allow them to reach higher spaces which they deserved, and this was the reason that the world was at the brink of a great revolution. As we said about the being of the cancerous cell, this writhing of mankind was not meaningless. The meaning here was expressing that the essence being could not be contained anymore, and started to feel the need to reach higher developments, leaps, results and acquisition. On the face of the mechanism of destiny, no merit is left neglected, no willing which is orientated towards further leaps and in accordance with original necessities is rejected, no strenuous effort or writhing is in vain, and especially no need of the essence being is left unfulfilled. All of these are minutely measured, calculated in the mechanism of destiny, and out of new fields of possibilities, that is, of the milieux of development which are most suitable to these needs, occur the manifestations, as in the manner we previously explained, which are spatialized with the original time measurements, that is, the destiny manifests. So, the mankind of the previous world cycle, who had been matured and entered into a state of inability to benefit from world matter, were in such expectation of the high spaces and high realms, which will fulfill their high destinies and further needs. And the ones who had not yet attained this degree were seeking the milieux sufficient for their simple states and needs. Thus, for all those needs to be realized, it was necessary for the world to change and consequently, for the new spaces, that is, the new destinies which will fulfill the new needs to emerge. Indeed, it would not be appropriate for the indigent mankind in these two groups, which are separated from each other by major differences, to exist in the same milieu. So, as a result of these high developmental necessities, the world was preparing for the realization of a revolution, a day of transition. This revolution of the world would occur, as it did in every cycle, first by disruption of its equilibrium, and then by restoration of it. As of the initial indications of this disruption of equilibrium, at this or that part of the continent of Mu, tremors, ruptures, volcanic eruptions had started to be observed, which could not be prevented by the power of mankind. These incidents continued for 80, 100 years by increasing, intensifying, and getting more frequent. The destined day was approaching, and mankind were running towards their deserved destinies. A great majority of mankind had prepared their merits at the higher spaces, and they would go there. The ones who would enter the moment of transition without preparation would yet remain in the world after the period of revolution was closed, and they would live in this world to cultivate their remaining sides, for some short or long periods of time until they acquire their merits. These two classes of hordes of mankind, which were unable to live together in regard to their needs, were approaching a fork in the road in order to continue their developments on separate paths and spaces. When this day of transition, which was imperative and determined by destiny, came to happen, no power could stop it. Then everything would be a fait accompli, the measurement of the merits would be disclosed, and the consequences of the beings acquired in the face of the mechanism of destiny and original time would be realized. Eventually, the day of transition arrived.